the inability or say lack of capacity and financial resources necessary to meet the requirements of a standard, a basic standard of living. Okay. So what is most fundamental is, what is it? It is lack of something, right? Lack of what? Lack of capacity. Capacity meaning what? It's a condition, right? In which it's a condition in which lack of capacity or financial resources required for a basic standard of living. So now this is generally accepted definition. It is a situation. Poverty is a situation where there is a lack of capacity or financial resources, both, huh? Not just capacity or financial resources. A person or a community lacks those capacity and financial resources that are required for a basic standard of living. So basically basic standard of living को कैसे define करें? Basic necessities को पूरा करने के लिए जो पैसा चाहिए या फिर जो capacity चाहिए, वो यदि नहीं है, so we call that person a poor person, and that situation is poverty. Okay. So जैसे मैंने शुरुआत में कहा, जब हम पॉवर्टी की बात करते हैं तो जनरली हमें गरीबी ये वर्ड ध्यान में आता है, एंड विच वी डायरेक्टली लिंक इट टू economic poverty. But there is something more to poverty. There are layers in poverty that we'll try to understand. So let us see what does the UNO's definition, the United Nations Organization ने जब define किया है तो क्या कहते हैं वो? So they add one more dimension to this, which is denial or lack of choices. Okay. UN क्या कहता है? एक dimension जोड़ता है उसको. This is a very interesting concept, where it says lack of choices or denial of choices is poverty. कैसे? Are you able to think?
Yeah, like for example, if I'm poor, I do not have the choice to afford a good healthcare, good education, good opportunities. I cannot travel, all these things.
So it is about, so denial or lack of choices. It basically says denial of choices, meaning if you do not have a choice. Have you heard the word beggars don't have choice? Beggars don't get to choose, right? Meaning कि यदि आप गरीब हैं तो आपके पास चॉइसेस नहीं है, राइट? सो किसी भी तरह के चॉइसेस नहीं है. चॉइसेस किसके पास है? जिनके पास रिसोर्सेस है और कैपेसिटी है, उनके पास चॉइसेस. यदि आप कुछ एक you want to wear a particular type of clothing, so do you have a choice to buy that clothing, whatever you want? जो भी आप कपड़ा पहनना चाहते हो वो पहनने की चॉइस है आपके पास? नहीं, तो आप पुअर है. जो आप खाना चाहते हैं या जो खाना आपको ज़रूरी है या जो खाना आपकी हेल्थ के लिए ज़रूरी है, यदि वो आप खाने की चॉइस आपके पास है तो आप पुअर नहीं है, और नहीं है तो आप पुअर है. सो अल्टीमेटली दिस इज द मोस्ट my most favorite definition of poverty is lack of choices. It takes care of almost all aspects of poverty. So this denial, it is denial means the others are denying that choice to the person, or it can be lack of it also on the part of the person. So this is what even talks about it. Then even also adds another, which is what? Lack of dignity. Dignity का क्या मतलब होता है? Lack of human, dignity means human dignity, right? Lack of human dignity could also, and also violation of it by others, right? So human dignity basically is that intrinsic human value, intrinsic human respect, जो एक individual को as a just for being a human being, जो उसको एक रिस्पेक्ट या फिर एक व्यवहार या एक यू कहें दैट्स उसको एक तरह का जो ह्यूमन इंटरैक्शन में उसको एक सम्मान मिलना चाहिए फॉर बीइंग अ ह्यूमन बीइंग, उसकी इंट्रिंसिक वैल्यू ऑफ बीइंग अ ह्यूमन, उस आधार पे, दैट इज कॉल्ड ह्यूमन डिग्निटी. तो ह्यूमन डिग्निटी इज अगेन अ वेरी इंपॉर्टेंट थिंग. Poor people, their dignity is generally violated. So violation of human dignity of an individual is basically poverty of that individual. So वो एक another aspect they lack, they bring it, you know. Another aspect the UN talks, जैसे UN ने ये aspects की बात करी, lack of capacity to participate in society. This is a very significant aspect of poverty. मतलब सोसाइटी की जो प्रोसेसेस है, डिसीजन मेकिंग प्रोसेसेस है या एक्टिविटीज है, उसमें पार्टिसिपेट यदि आप नहीं कर पा रहे हैं, सो दैट्स पॉवर्टी, राइट. सो इफ यू थिंक ऑफ इट, यू विल कम टू नो ऑफ इट. इस समाज के निर्णय जो होते हैं या समाज की जो गतिविधियां होती हैं, उसमें गरीब जो होता है उसका उसका कितना पार्टिसिपेशन और से होता है, राइट. लगभग नहीं के बराबर, राइट. एंड दैट इज अनदर way of defining poverty. So these are some of the ways in which poverty is being looked at, and there are many other ways which we'll now see. But what has UNO divided? UNO has divided this poverty in two types. UNO की divisions हैं. It says basically two types of poverty. जैसे हमने पहले शुरुआत में भी बात की कि poverty के बहुत layers हो सकते हैं, but those among those two types, what is that? Do you know what is it? One is economic poverty, right? Very easy to understand. What does it means? Economic poverty would also mean income poverty. Economy means income, basically income poverty. Now, income poverty is directly linked to an individual's income, earnings, and that's the only parameter which is seen in this. So this is also called income poverty. The only parameter it is calculated on is income. For a long time, this was the way poverty was defined internationally also. And most of the people, when they talk of poverty, they generally are talking about this poverty. However, UNO has also come up with another category of poverty, which is called human poverty. ये वर्ड सुना है आपने, ह्यूमन पॉवर्टी? नहीं सुना होगा. But what UNO says is, yes, this is a poverty, but more important category of poverty is human poverty. How do they define human poverty? Human poverty is basically a more broad-based idea of poverty, not limited to income. जैसे अभी भी हमने ये aspects किए, you know, lack of human dignity, for example, is a poverty, but does it necessarily depend on income? No. There can be many other factors on which it would depend. For example, being able to participate in society and its decision-making processes. Does it only and entirely depend on the income of the individual? No, it depends on many other factors. And hence, human poverty is a more comprehensive definition of poverty. What does it include? Please write down. It takes into account deprivations. Deprivation मतलब पता है ना, अलग अलग तरह के deprivation हो सकते हैं. Deprivation means not being able to access certain things, not getting certain things, not being given access to certain things, being deprived of certain things, right? Deprivation, it involves lack of food, Okay, shelter, lack of food, lack of shelter, right? The social level of the human, the individual, lack of human dignity, right? Lack of social status, right? Then it also has another important element of insecurity. Human poverty में insecurity आती है. Insecurity is a very very important thing. Generally हम इसको ignore कर देते हैं. Then of course susceptibility to violence. Susceptibility to violence, lack of drinking water and sanitation. तो इस तरह के डायमेंशंस इन्होंने इसमें दिए हुए हैं, right? So if at all there is a question on human poverty, then you should actually be talking about these dimensions, right? And UNO says that the governments across the world and the countries of the world should actually focus their attention on addressing human poverty in their poverty mitigation, poverty elevation programs, and not limit their interventions and initiatives to income poverty. This is the approach of the United Nations.
Sir,
Huh.
this susceptible to violence, but the rich person they also do the violence or the crime. So how?
Suscept- Susceptibility to violence. Like, what are you saying?
The richer person they also come to the violence or they do the crimes.
No, it's not about crime. So susceptibility, you need to understand this word. Susceptibility to violence means that they are more susceptible to violence, meaning that it is more likely that there will be violence against them. You know?
Okay.
Yeah. So if there are people who are more susceptible to violence in villages, if you live in villages or even in some other places, cities, you will find that there are some people who could be simply beaten up without any perception or without any fear of punishment, right? कुछ लोगों को ये लगता है कि अरे इनको तो मार भी देंगे, इनको पीट भी देंगे तो क्या फर्क पड़ेगा. So they are more susceptible to violence, and that's an important aspect of human poverty. You got it, Nashi?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So this is a very comprehensive way of looking at poverty, and not just income poverty, but the human poverty. Let us also understand when the first type of poverty, of course, you have to talk about human poverty. But when you talk about income poverty, what does the World Bank have to say about it? World Bank has been trying to define poverty, the various dimensions of poverty. It has been trying to come up with ways to measure poverty, right? And in that process, it has been coming up with its own yardsticks for many years. But we'll not go into the history because there are other important topics to cover on poverty. What does it say? The latest report of the World Bank, which came in 2017, they came up with a 2017 scale. In economics, you must have heard a term called prices at certain or prices of, say 217. सुना है आप लोगों ने? Whenever you talk about something, some economic parameters, they're always based on prices of certain year, right? So the parameters of the World Bank to define poverty, the income poverty, are based on prices of 2017. Okay. prices of 2017 per base diet. What does it say? And it classifies poverty in 3 different categories for 3 different types of countries. So first it says there are low income countries. So कहना है कि बहुत low income countries है कुछ. And what are those low income countries? India, of course. Where would India come? There are low. It is classifying countries in 3 categories: low income countries, middle income countries, and high to middle income countries. तो ये 3 categorization उन्होंने किया है, right? So low income countries, meaning most of the developing countries and poor countries are coming into this. For them, it says $2.15 per day per person is the poverty line. This is an international poverty line now, you can say. So if a person is earning less than this per day, that person is poor. If a family, overall family's income is $2.15 per day per person, average करोगे तो किसी भी community के लिए, family के लिए, individual के लिए वही आएगा, per person per day है क्योंकि, right? So this is the poverty line. Of course, this poverty line is always based on in PPP terms, right? PPP समझ गए आप? PPP पढ़ लिया होगा आप लोगों ने, and you're very clear about PPP, right? Tell me what it is.
Price parity.
What price parity?
I mean, this spend what it cost in dollar and rupee. The comparison
No,
between
but what is the
them.
full form? Let's first talk about full form.
Purchasing
I
power,
forgot.
power parity.
Correct. So this stands for purchasing power parity, right? Purchasing power parity. But you've studied this topic, so you should know it. I mean, you should be very specific. This is one of the most important, most fundamental, most basic concepts in economics, right? So you have to know it. So purchasing power parity, but I can't teach you again. But purchasing power parity, बहुत ही simple terms में क्या होता है? Why it is required? Why purchasing power parity is required? And whenever World Bank or any international organization talks about income levels or poverty or GDP or per capita income, they always talk in terms of PPP, purchasing power parity, because $2.15 in US, the value of $2.15 in US and the value of $2.15 in India is not same. Is it same? Whether it is same or not, how will you come to know of that? क्या तरीका हो सकता है? वैल्यू कितना है? यदि वैल्यू सबका डॉलर की वैल्यू पाकिस्तान में भी उतनी ही, इंडिया में भी उतनी ही और यूएस में और साउथ कोरिया में भी उतनी ही होती, तो फिर तो आपको ये कॉन्सेप्ट की जरूरत ही नहीं थी. ये कॉन्सेप्ट बहुत ही फंडामेंटल और जरूरी कॉन्सेप्ट, इसके बगैर इंटरनेशनल लेवल की कोई बात नहीं हो सकती, क्योंकि ये जो $2 है, कैसे बहुत ही प्रैक्टिकल टर्म्स में कैसे होगा? ये $2 से यदि मान लीजिए मैं यूएस में एक बर्गर, फॉर एग्जांपल मैं एक केक, सॉरी एक ब्रेड का पैकेट खरीदता हूँ, राइट? आई बाय पैकेट ऑफ ब्रेड, 1 पैकेट ऑफ ब्रेड $1 में, say 1 packet of anything you can think of. Say I can buy 2 eggs with this, right? What else? Say I can buy milk, say ½ liter, right? मान लो फॉर एग्जांपल, अब ये चीजें हैं जो आपको एक इतनी ही है मान लीजिए, और ये $2 में आपको यूएस में मिल रही है, और $2 में यू कैन बाय दिस, राइट, इन यूएस. नाउ यदि ये $2 को मैं इंडियन रुपीस में कन्वर्ट कर दूं, क्योंकि इंडिया में तो डॉलर चलेगा नहीं, तो वो कितना होता है आज की तारीख में? मान लो 85 मान के, जो 87 88 हो गया, तो 170 रुपीस हो गया. सो 170 रुपीस में इंडिया में मुझे क्या मिलेगा? क्या मिलेगा मुझे इंडिया में? एक ब्रेड का पैकेट 25 रुपए का, और आधा लीटर मिल्क हो गया 28 रुपए का। अच्छा, इसको बड़ा पता है, 25 रुपए का ब्रेड का पैकेट, आधा लीटर मिल्क 28 रुपए का, 2 अंडे फिर 12 रुपए के, है ना, ऐसे भी, राइट। 2 एग्स 12 रुपीज का। तो ये पूरा मिला के भी ये 70 रुपए हो गया। 100 रुपए तो मेरे पास और भी बचे हैं। तो फिर इसमें मैं और भी कर सकता हूँ, 1 kg राइस भी आ जाएगा, कि हम लोग तो खाना बना के खाते हैं, राइट। एक सब्जी भी आ जाएगी भिंडी की, या फिर ये हो सकता है कि मैं कोई और चीजें लूँ, मैं फ्रूट ले लूँ ना, बनाना ले लूँ, राइट। तो 6 बनाना आ जाएंगे, और क्या आएगा, which means I can buy many more things in $2 in India, which means the conversion of $2 to 170 rupees does not mean anything. What is more important is what it can buy for me, right? Money, पैसे की वैल्यू पैसे की उस नंबर में नहीं है। पैसे की वैल्यू वो कितनी चीजें आप उससे खरीद सकते हो उसमें है। हो सकता है कि आप, ये तो इंडिया में है, हो सकता है तंजानिया में चले जाओ, तो हो सकता है कि इससे भी 2-3 चीजें और आप खरीद सकते हो उतने $2 में, राइट। तो इसका मतलब है कि कंपैरिजन सही नहीं हो रहा है। ये क्या कहता है, ये इसको कन्वर्ट कर देता है परचेसिंग पावर पैरिटी। ये क्या, परचेसिंग, आप ये खरीद रहे हो ना आप, सो बेसिकली दिस वैल्यू ऑफ $2 here and $2 here depends on what it can buy, what is the power of that $2 to purchase, what can that $2 purchase। $2 आपको क्या खरीद सकते हो, उससे आप क्या परचेस कर सकते हो, वो आपका पावर दिखाता है वो, और दैट इज कॉल्ड परचेसिंग पावर पैरिटी। विच मीन्स कि यदि मुझे कन्वर्ट करना पड़ा कि दो डॉलर का, तो मैं क्या करूंगा, $2 को कितना कन्वर्ट हो जाएगा मेरे पास, यहाँ 170 में कन्वर्ट कर लिया मैंने, पर ये 170 की वैल्यू कितनी है। यदि मैं ये बास्केट है, ये बास्केट एक है, ये बास्केट दूसरी है। अब मेरे जो $2 है उसकी एक्चुअल वैल्यू कितनी है, यूएस में कितना खरीद सकता हूँ, ये चीजें मुझे यूएस में कितने में पड़ेगी। हो सकता है कि ये चीजें मुझे $5 में पड़े, है ना। तो इसका मतलब है कि इंडिया में जो परचेसिंग पावर पैरिटी है वो इंडिया के फेवर में है डॉलर के, विच मीन्स कि जब अमेरिका में कोई $2 कमाता है तो इंडिया में वो $5 के बराबर है, क्योंकि वो $5 के बराबर की चीजें खरीद पा रहा है इंडिया में, राइट। सो दैट इज परचेसिंग पावर पैरिटी, राइट। So the $2, what $2 can buy in US, and what $2 can buy in India, there's a great difference, and that is what we understand by purchasing power parity। तो इसका मतलब है कि जब भी कोई $2 की वहां बात कर रहा है, तो इंडिया में मान लीजिए कि $2, अब वो कह रहा है कि $2 ये है, राइट, पीपीपी। तो पीपीपी फिर कंट्री को कन्वर्ट करना है उसको, ओके। क्योंकि ये $2 कैसे अराइव किया है उसने क्या किया है कि एक इंसान को, एक व्यक्ति को अपनी बेसिक नीड्स को पूरी करने के लिए कितनी इनकम होनी चाहिए, और यदि इतनी इनकम है तो फिर वो अपनी बेसिक नीड्स को पूरा कर सकता है, उसके हिसाब से ये किया है। पर हमको पता है कि इससे बहुत कम में हमारी बेसिक नीड्स दूसरे कंट्रीज में हो जा रही, तो उसके लिए फिर ये पीपीपी के आधार पे चेंज होगा, ओके। एनीवे, सो व्हाट डज इट से, लो इनकम के लिए इतना, right? And then there is another category which they have said, it is lower middle income group. So lower middle income किया है उन्होंने, और upper middle किया है। ये 3 कैटेगरी में उन्होंने किया है। And what are those? They have just simply said 3.65 rupees and 6.85. ये डॉलर्स में उन्होंने किया है। But we are not concerned with these two. Right? What are we concerned with? We are concerned with this one because that relates to us. तो जब वर्ल्ड बैंक कोई सर्वे करेगा, पॉवर्टी का सर्वे वो भी करते हैं, तो वर्ल्ड बैंक का सर्वे किस इंडिया में वो किस स्केल पे करेंगे, किस यार्ड स्टिक पे करेंगे, दिस यार्ड स्टिक. बट इफ दे आर doing that survey in say a country which falls in lower